What up, Nurse Gang? What up, TikTok? So, very serious issue that needs to be brought to light. Montefiore Nyack Hospital and White Glove Placement Agency are the culprits. An inside source travel nurse is telling me that a patient wandered out of the hospital last week. An 85-year-old female patient who came in with hypoxia wandered out of the hospital last week and was found at 6 a.m. in the parking lot dead. And it's being covered up. And guess who's being thrown under the bus? The travel nurse who complained repeatedly to White Glove about the ratios being way too high to sustain, begging to be taken off that assignment, and was met with military silence. Montefiore, why are you keeping this out of the news? Why are you trying to cover this up? And now gathering up all your staff, educating them, trying to throw this nurse under the bus. Not today or tomorrow, because the nurses begged for help and to get out of those assignments. Let's take a deeper look into it. Now, these nurses reached out to White Glove and let them know that this assignment was dangerous. This assignment was dangerous. And what makes it even more sticky is these were pediatric nurses. Pediatric nurses. When they get there, they're given med-surg patients. They're mixing med-surg patients with PD patients. And these PD patients are almost like pediatric ICU patients, mixed right in on the same unit with adult med-surg patients. These nurses didn't sign up for this. The nurse texts White Glove and said, "Good morning. I wasn't able to send a message yesterday while at work because of the nature of this work environment. I had a 9-patient assignment yesterday. 2 of these patients were pediatrics, no older than 2 weeks old. Heparin drip every hour, IV potassium infusion for the first 4 hours of the shift. Head to toe wound care, and the list goes on. I did not get a break, not to even drink water. Not only was it unsafe, it was also unhealthy, both mentally and physically, for myself and the patients. Full disclosure, I do not feel comfortable working at this facility. I do not want to go through this every other shift, putting my license in jeopardy. And for this agency to make it appear that travel nurses that have gone here in the past have never complained about this is astonishing to me. I'm really disappointed in this assignment. I've been traveling for some time now, and I've never had an experience like this. I want out of this contract." White Glove never responded. Military silence. The nurse goes back into work the next morning to find a 2-to-18 ratio. 2 nurses to 18 patients. She reached out again. "Good morning. No one called me back yesterday after I explicitly outlined the ongoing issues I'm having here on this assignment at Montefiore. I showed up to work this morning and there are only 2 nurses staffed for 18 patients. Respectfully, I would like to officially put in for a 2 weeks notice effective immediately." This is the patient assignment for 2 nurses. This is how many patients they gave 2 nurses. And then tragedy strikes. On this eventful night, ratio that night was 1-to-6. The nurse had 1 peds patient and 5 adults. This within itself is crazy because these are pediatric nurses and this is a PD unit, and you're having med-surg patients mixed in with pediatric patients and giving them to these nurses. Patient came in for hypoxia and needed supplemental oxygen desperately. She tells me this patient was combative. This patient was climbing out of the bed. This patient was falling. They alerted the supervisor that this patient needed a higher level of care. This nurse couldn't handle it. She needed to be moved to another unit. She was hypoxic. They said she was blue. Okay? She was blue. And supervisor said, "We're not moving the patient off the unit." Nurse goes and, tries to keep up with her assignment, circles back around at 4 a.m. Patient's gone. They're looking all over for the patient. They alert security. Everyone's looking for this patient for 2 hours. They find the patient outside in the parking lot dead. She was outside in the parking lot dead. Nurses are pulling up for day shift and they're seeing the police and everyone on site bagging this patient up. And radio silence from Monty, not on the news, covered it up. Immediately put the nurse, took her off the assignment, put her out pending investigation. And now they're educating the staff on how to give a proper bedside report and doing this and doing that. They're about to throw that nurse under the bus. They're about to throw that nurse under the bus. White glove, radio silence. Nurses, when these assignments are dangerous, just know something like this can happen and they're going to blame it on you. They are going to blame it on the nurse. Walk away from these unsafe assignments. White glove should be ashamed, and Monty should be ashamed of themselves, putting nurses in these positions, unbearable assignments, unbearable situations. But no, this is not on the nurse. She reached out for help. She asked for help. She begged and pleaded for help. You guys didn't help her. This is on that organization. What are your thoughts? Let's talk about it. One thing that has to be noted, and I got to shout out Nice Enough for the culture. The travel nurse said, even though these are travel nurses and they don't work for the hospital, that NICENA, the nursing union, they reached out to them to offer support. Whew! You know I love those NICENA nurses. That's the only union I love. They reached out to them to offer support, even though they're travel nurses and they do not work for the hospital and they're not in the union. Go NICENA.